What's up, everybody? What's up, Brandon?
Hey George, how's it going?
Doing pretty good, brother. Doing pretty good. We are just trying to go live here in my Facebook page. Oh, here it is. And typically, here's what happens. In as soon as we start with the changes that Facebook's going has made, I typically have to now go to my live right on my page to share it into the groups. That's the only problem that we have. So every time we start live, boom, immediately we're sharing it from our hands. That's why it takes about a minute, additional minute to get things going.
Of
But
course.
doing fantastic, man. How's your day?
The day is going well. The weather is beautiful. The sun is shining. So, no complaints on my end.
I love it. Well, everybody, we're live here every Friday, um, talking about short-term rentals, talking about real estate. And I think my buddy Brandon is going to join us here every week. We've got about 7 channels connected today, so we've got a pretty good audience. And
Definitely.
here we talk about real estate, right? We talk about strategies, we share knowledge. Yeah, when Brandon and Hollis are here, we go back and forth and exchange some awesome ideas. I get to learn from you guys. You get to learn from us, from myself. But last week, we talked about one really cool strategy we're using to pay zero taxes by buying one property per year. So if you have not watched that last week's actual live stream, make sure you go check it out and leave us a comment or maybe give us a like or something. But George Salas here, short-term rental operator, fund manager, and also short-term rental expert here of 7 years, coming to you live every Friday. Currently, we've locked up an amazing portfolio, which is going to put our assets under management at 19 million this year,
Wow.
almost hitting 100% of our goal for the year, which was 15 million in assets this year, which is the biggest year ever. It puts us two-thirds, a little bit over two-thirds of our goal with one single purchase. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. But hey, Brandon, why don't you introduce yourself and let's get things going over here.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Brandon. The name on Instagram is Brandon Cashflow, which is what a lot of people know me by. I love cash flow, specifically buying assets that cash flow from day one. So there's a lot of protection for myself, protection for investors, and it's great to be here. So I think we should get started, George.
Yeah, let's get started. So today we're going to be talking about growth and how you scale your portfolios or your real estate by doing one deal. And we're going to talk about some tactics of negotiation, how we've acquired, and we might go a little deeper into the partners and what it all entails. But Brandon and I have been going back and forth, and he has questions for
I
us.
do.
He got some questions. So, brother, why don't we
I'm
just
gonna fire away, George. I'm gonna fire away. So I have some burning questions. And you had mentioned that the goal by the end of the year is 15 million, and this one purchase puts you more than two-thirds of the way there, which is incredible. And now buying one property is awesome. Buying two properties is great. But let me ask you, George, how many properties are in this portfolio that you have under contract?
So officially, as of just a couple of days ago, after 45 plus days of due diligence, we locked it up. So now I can go live and say, "Hey guys, we've got this portfolio in a contract. Let's talk some details on it." Nothing is ready to go yet, as in we're not moving forward, but we will be in St. Louis this weekend. It's 18 properties. We'll be walking the properties starting Monday to Tuesday, one at a time. Our team has already done full-fledged due diligence underwriting of each property and created business plans for each. Uh, yeah, on Monday and Tuesday, we'll actually be doing live and finalizing ideation and the actual vision of each property. Right? So,
That That is pretty incredible. That is pretty incredible. And then normally, at least when I think about short-term rentals, and I think when a lot of people think about short-term rentals, they think about single family. So are all of these properties single family homes, or do you have some small multifamily? What does that kind of look like?
yeah, absolutely, man. So there's 24 doors total, right?
Okay.
24 doors is 18 buildings, right? Now, most of them are going to be your single family homes. I think about 8 or 9 are single family homes, and well, I would actually be about half.
Yeah.
So the remaining are going to be there's a duplex, there's a sixplex, there is a there's also an eightplex, I believe. No, it's a sixplex. There's
Mhm.
a couple of triplexes, right? So I would say, yeah, a mixture of multifamily and single family, but all with a short-term rental exit. So all within about 25 minutes from each other, right? So yeah, man.
Nice, nice, George. And are you and I guess in terms of financing, planning to go through a bank, is it sub two or is it a little bit more creative than using a bank?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you know, I mean, you buy quite a bit of real estate, right, yourself. So, when you're buying real estate, the first thing, it's like, hey, how am I going to finance this thing, right? So, typically, over the last 12 to 18 months, our group has been purchasing everything, almost everything, um, subject to the mortgage creative finance, right? Subject to the mortgage creative finance. Only two properties out of last year, we did 10 deals last year. Only two projects were uh, renovation value add projects where we had to come in and purchase them with hard money, or private money, and then refinance them into long term SDR financing. Right.
Mhm.
So the other eight were creative finance. This portfolio is all seller finance, right?
Wow.
All seller finance, and it's pretty awesome, right? So it all comes at in one deal, right? Well, we had to sign 18 contracts, but the whole thing was all in one deal, right? So it's all seller finance, which lands on the creative finance realm as well, right? So we're not going to reveal, the offering or who is partners in this whole thing yet, but soon, when available, when the paperwork's ready to go, uh, you guys are going to be able. Man, this is a sick portfolio, bro. Sick portfolio, man. So I'm
Definitely,
excited.
George. For sure. Yeah. Seller financing unlocks a lot of doors, quicker time to close, potentially if that's what you want. Less fees as well. So it's helpful like that. And I know you said St. Louis. When I think about St. Louis, I obviously know where St. Louis is. It's in Missouri. But it's not really a market that comes top of mind when you think short-term rentals.
Yeah.
But why is St. Louis an attractive market for short-term rentals?
Yeah. So great question, man. So I think, people wouldn't think Houston is an attractive market, but millions of people travel down to Houston
Yeah.
for work. So right now, this whole entire last 40 days or 30 days has been people traveling here for work because of the recent hurricane, workers, like coming down here to do trees and, energy workers, all sort of workers, right? When you think about major cities, there are going to be tons of attractions, right? So, for example, St. Louis is one of the number one cities in America for sports. You have the Rams, you have the Cardinals, so you have the different sports, and the city itself is known and it's attractive for those things, right? So it's an older city,
Yep.
but the sports vibe, everybody loves to watch sports there. So that's one of the main reasons. Now, in a market like St. Louis, it's a smaller city, it's not as big as Houston, obviously, and you got to take in consideration certain things. Now, St. Louis has a lot more regulations than Houston. So
Mm,
what happens is this is regulations for short-term vacation rentals. So what happens is when you go into a market like St. Louis, you've got to know how to maneuver the regulations, how to go around them, and how to really make things happen. Or you got to go to areas that are outside of the city of St. Louis or whatever that county is, right? So in Houston, there's zero. Well, there's some regulations coming up, and there's an ordinance that's going to be coming up here in Houston, which is great. But right now, anybody could just open up or rent an apartment, buy a property, buy a multifamily building, right? And then list all those properties as short-term rentals. So what happens is you get saturation when there is there's no wall there that stops everybody, right? The mom and pops, the rookies, and from starting and doing it unprofessionally, right? So that's what we've seen over the last few years in Houston. The supply has gone up, but that's not what's happening in St. Louis. St. Louis is actually a market that has more regulations. It's growing in real estate pricing and prices, and the growth of real estate has been phenomenal over the last 10 years itself. In short-term rentals, it's growing, but because of certain areas, certain restrictions, that the actual supply isn't growing as fast. So what happens is when you have that middle ground there, it's what we call equilibrium, right? There's an equilibrium in growth between the demand, how many people are booking, and the supply, how many people are listing, right? Listing short-term rental properties. In this case, St. Louis seems to be on that upright, like maybe winning a little bit here and there, unlike a market like Houston, where the supply in some years increases drastically, the demand is also increasing, but demand is increasing by 15-18%, while supply is increasing by 23%. So now you have, right, you have 5% more supply increasing. So what happens then is your occupancy slows down, right? Your revenue lessens because your occupancy slows down. And the one thing that we have not seen in markets like Houston or St. Louis is the actual slowdown or lessen of the average daily rates. So that's one thing that we've seen, that's been growing despite of the supply being grown. Supply is growing faster, more drastically than the demand. The per night rates have not dropped, which is strange because as the per night rates increase, they've got to increase in order for the real estate investor to survive. Why? Because insurance costs are going out the roof.
Right.
Because taxes down here in Texas have no limit. They could go up 20%, it could go up 15, 10%, and there's no cap. While in other cities, I'm not sure how you guys do it over there, right? You're in Connecticut, right? Is there a cap over there, Brandon? How do the taxes work over there, by the way, like property taxes?
It's a great question. I rent, and I don't own anything here just because it's not as landlord friendly. So candidly, I haven't looked too much into it. I know that they're cheaper here than versus New York, for example, but I haven't looked into it too much.
Gotcha. Well, in some states you have a cap, right? So the cap basically caps the city from raising the property taxes over, let's call it 4%. I think, for example, like one of the smaller cities down here, around Houston, is called Friendswood. I believe they have a cap, and it's 4%. So they cannot raise property taxes over 4%, while everything else goes up on average 10%. So when you have 10% of on your property taxes, let's just call it a $400,000 property, right? The value goes up 10%. So now it goes from 400 to 440,000. That's 10%, and that compounds every year. So now it's actually more than 10%. It's 10% compounded. Okay,
right.
So if you're paying 2% of 400, that is $8,000, right? So that's $8,000 per year, and if it goes up to 440, that's almost $9,000, right? So if you don't have your average daily or your revenue growing per year, right, and we estimate a growth, all of the markets that we go into, we are literally underwriting at 3% growth, Brandon, 3% a year, but that market is actually it's averaging 6, 7, 8%. So we're coming in at about 50%, which is conservative, right? We want to under-promise, over-deliver for our clients, our partners, our investors. And so you got to come in a little bit lower than what it normally is, right? So I know I went way outside the top like St. Louis, but there's many, many reasons why this market is phenomenal. And we look at a lot of markets, folks, all over the U.S. now. And this is our seed project, right? Our seed project is our first actual portfolio purchase. We manage properties all across the United States, right? And honestly, I can't be happier for finding this thing, and it has come around from a strategic partnership, which 100% we're going to give credit to when when that time comes. We've actually built an amazing strategic partnership with two different two different groups to be able to execute this thing. So you guys will see this. I'm super excited about it, but let's go back to what you got over there,
Yeah,
Brian.
awesome,
So makes sense, man.
awesome, George. Yeah, you've I love all of your great feedback. And one final question, just to kind of wrap everything up. Um, you know, I think there can be a lot of competition within the short-term rental space, but if your property is properly amenitized, you
Yep.
have a lot less competition. So, what are some of the amenities that the portfolio has, and what will you potentially be adding over time?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So this portfolio is not all ready to go. Okay.
Hmm.
So out of the 18 properties, five or six are going to be ready as we launch. The remaining, there are going to be renovations, a couple of large renovations, entire full gut renos, right? Some are going to be ready to go, and then the rest are going to be. So I'll calculating, we'll be stabilized in about 8 months to 9 months completely, right? All the properties launched, maybe a year, right? Just depends when these renovations. As far as the timeline goes, it's 9 months right now, so I'm calling it 9 8 9 months. So what we're doing in some of these properties is the properties that are already going as STRs, they're already live, they're already launched. We're basically taking over cash flowing properties, right? So we're going to take these properties on. The team is going to take over the management, and we're going to go do additional improvements, amenity additions on top. These are not going to be that heavy, right? I'm talking about $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 actual amenity additions, and that's still a lot for some of you, right? So if you're adding, oh my God, I'm going to spend $15,000, $20,000 per property. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but when you're talking about a property that's going to generate you 100 to 125,000, and I'm specifically naming those numbers because some of the properties in this portfolio, because there's a sixplex itself is going to be like 200. There's a property that we're projecting to do 250,000, and then there's this five properties that I'm mentioning are specifically going to be projecting to generate around 100 to 125. I'm going to come in and just do a few amenity additions, sort of like I do a touch up, right, in some design. There are
Right.
other properties like the ones that have, for example, there's a couple of the properties that have basements. We're going to go in there and build. For example, one basement is going to have a batting cage, right, a baseball batting cage, right. There's this long basement. We're gonna go in there, build it out, and put a batting cage underneath. Now, I know that you off the grid, like off the live stream, you asked me, Brandon, George, isn't pools your thing,
Yeah.
right? When it comes to short term rentals, and I was like, it is, yes, but that's only on the hot southern markets. Every market, folks, in Brandon, right, has its own amenities. So just because we love pools here doesn't mean we're gonna go try to build a pool
Mm.
in St. Louis where there's maybe a little room in the backyard, but it has a huge basement. We've got to become creative, right? What does not change, the amenities change, but what does not change is the actual value that we urge to create for
Mhm.
each property, which in return creates 10x value when people come in and purchase. What I call it is our $100 million offer, right?
Yeah.
This comes from the book by Alex Hormozy,
Yes.
and it speaks about when you create any type of offer in any business, right, you've got to create so much value in whatever you do that people feel stupid to not purchase that thing, right?
Yep.
In this case, every property we create now, it wasn't like this 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, right? We started doing this in 2021. So that is about 3 years ago, right? Really adding maximum value. And that takes time, it takes effort. But what happens when you add additional value in the form of the amenities that the market is asking for?
Mm-hmm.
Then it could be an additional bedroom. It could be a basement. It could be some really cool design. It could be outdoor patio furniture. It could be a covered patio, a hot tub, a swing set, whatever it is. You got to understand and know that market. The market asks you, it tells you, hey, Airbnb tells you itself. You can also use tools to find these really cool amenities. But it's all about putting the value that the market asks for in each and every single listing or property or project that you do to match what the market is giving. So if the market says, okay, well, there's 3, 4 properties making $150,000, but they have XYZ amenities, what we do is we come in there and we make our property, if it has the space, right, even better. We amenitize it even better than the competition. What's going to happen is because the market is telling me that there's enough demand, the market determines demand. The demand determines how much money you make, right? So there's enough demand there. You're going to actually match those numbers, create that top line revenue that the market's telling you you could, right? And that's sort of like the high level strategy when it comes to the amenities for us, right? We got to understand what the market is asking for, what it wants, what it needs, and St. Louis is a perfect example of that, right? So we'll be coming to you very, very soon, launching all kinds of really cool showcasing your portfolio. So,
That's awesome, George. Yeah, I'm super excited about this project. St. Louis also has some great barbecue too, so it'll be another thing to look forward to.
absolutely, man. So, guys, if you're watching this and you want to know more about how to partner with us in this portfolio, right? Just leave us a comment. Our team will reach out. Send us a PM. This is not available yet. It is coming up, and literally, it's going to sell out, right? So we're excited about this portfolio. We're excited about this journey out into St. Louis market. So that's all I can say, fellas.
Absolutely, absolutely. And lastly, if you have any questions about real estate or the short-term rental space, please ask because we're always looking for more topics to cover. So chances are if you have a question, there's many other people that will have that exact same question as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So always drop that question, ladies and gents. Drop the question wherever you are. Let us know. We'll be happy to come in and take a call with you and walk you through our strategy and just show you what is going on here in our world. So, but anyway, happy Friday, everybody! Thanks for being here, Brandon, and we'll see you guys next Friday morning.
Yes. Take care.